The Villain's Demand reviews Secret Wars, written by Jonathan Hickman and art by Saad Ribic.
Hey guys, this is The Villain's Demand. I'm Evan the Great, this is Justin Von Doom, and this is Hero Man. Today we're here to bring you another comic book review over Marvel's Secret Wars.
This is a pretty big event in 2015. It starts off, it's the Future Foundation. They're trying to build a life raft because of the final incursions happening, which is going to destroy all the universes, or their universe and 1610's universe. During all this, the life raft takes off. They can't save everybody that they want to save, and they presume that the world's destroyed. But come to find out, this is when Doom stepped in and created Battleworld. Once he created Battleworld, it goes into talking about like he's got a Doom's court. They're crowning new Thors, which is like his own personal military. You get to find out a little bit of how Battleworld works, and then there's a life raft that's found, and the Thors find it, and it ends up being the Cabal. They were in a life raft and they survived it. A battle ensues between them. Doctor Strange has a life raft, which is the Future Foundation's life raft. During this battle, the Future Foundation shows up, and so Doom takes notice and shows up, and the Phoenix ends up, Doom kills the Phoenix, and yeah, he just snaps his neck, and it was almost, which we'll get into it, but that was like a showing that Doom is all powerful. Doctor Strange scatters the heroes so that Doom don't kill them. Doom kills Strange, and Strange was his right-hand man on Battleworld. And Doom kills him for basically betraying him. And then it goes into, you find out how Doom got this power. Him, Strange, and Molecule Man found out what was going on with the Beyonders. They couldn't stop it, so they decided to stop the Beyonders. And what they did is they used Molecule Man, which is a bomb built by them, to take them out. And they stole their power. And Molecule Man ends up being like a battery that feeds Doom his power. So you find all that out, and then Black Panther and Namor, they find Doctor Strange's hideout. They find the Infinity Gauntlet. It's a full Infinity Gauntlet. Mr. Fantastic and the Maker, they're making robots. They're scouting stuff out. They find the power source with Spider-Man in them, which is Molecule Man. All this is going on because they're actually having to plan and try to figure out how to beat Doom because they just can't physically do it. So all that's going on, and then the war starts, which is pretty much all the generals are there fighting. A lot of the generals are trying to turn on Doom because they think this is a good chance to do it. Black Panther is bringing in like the army of the dead to fight. The Thing has stood up, so the shield wall's gone, so all the annihilation waves coming, led by Thanos. So all that's happening. All this stuff's happening, and it's just really a distraction. Because it all ends with Reed finding Molecule Man, and he's going to try to put an end to Doom, and so then it ends with Doom and Reed having their final battle, their final face-off, and it all ends with Reed, Mr. Fantastic, becoming the new all-powerful, and he actually, because he can do a better job than Doom, and he's making more multiverses, like he's creating them and throwing them out into the universe, and restarting everything that they lost during all these incursions. That's the breakdown, and like I said, it's a long one.
And basically this leads off into your all-new, all-different Marvel, which kicked off in November. And basically with that, just that right there said, this book was supposed to end in October. Horribly delayed in its last 3 months. Issue 9 just come out as of this Wednesday. And overall, I really liked the ending of this book. I'll wait probably till issue 7. I thought was kind of useless. It was just like filler. Like you'd mentioned, it's just how Battleworld works. I mean, you could have took the crowning of the Thors, Doom's court, which was all cool. I thought you could have taken that out. And in the end, you know, with all that other crap, there was no need for this book to be delayed at all. I mean, I think the reason, in my mind, that it was delayed is I think they really wanted to make this last battle that takes place at the World Tree really awesome. you had a lot of awesome moments in that, and it's neat. And to me, that's where the book picked up. It's the last 3 issues, and I think that's what made the book really, really good. And basically, they've ended the Fantastic Four with the end of this, which is kind of sad. It's Marvel's first family. They've basically done this, which is sad because of Fox, which has failed with the Fantastic Four franchise. And this basically gets rid of them, and hopefully one day they'll be back at Marvel.
Yeah, I agree. It was sad watching them go. And then what's cool about the story is, you know, at the end of it is it kind of gives you an insight on some of the characters that are going to be in the regular, I guess, Marvel Universe. And I really like it. Like, I didn't like the idea of Miles at first with Spider-Man, but I really think that might be good now. Just by, you know, the little, towards the end of it, whenever they're swinging or whatever, and he's talking to him, that kind of left you off with a little bit of hope. And I really liked the way that Reed, he didn't kill anybody at the end. He fixed them. That was really neat. I really liked the way that he did that. The battle, like he said, was real. It was nice. It was cool. I liked everything, like the Groot, you know, with a toothpick, make a Groot. The Thing, you know, battling. I really like Franklin controlling, I guess, Galactus.
Yeah.
All that was really cool, but I think they could have did that. They should have to wait this long.
Yeah. There was, like I said, there was no need for it to be delayed so bad. And in the end, for me, that's what killed the story for me. I mean, it was just like, wow, this takes forever. I didn't read the last 3 issues until just last week when the new issue come out. To me, it's just to the point that this is boring. When's this going to, you know, what's good about this? What's the point of this? Which really, to me, don't happen until they start telling you how Doom and Strange and Molecule Man battle the Beyonders. So,
I didn't get that feeling because I read them all at once. And so I didn't have that weight and that feeling like that issue was just a drag. Because as soon as that issue was over, I was on to the next one. I actually wanted it to be longer because I really liked the way they did Battleworld.
Well, I read them all in the same order. It's just that those last 3 issues what you need.
But I liked a lot of the little stuff like Franklin going fishing for what were they, like basically Krakens with?
Yeah, he was fishing like
with
for
Galactus.
Leviathans.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, and he's called the biggest one ever. I like little details like that, and to me that helps build a story. And I felt like the only reason it maybe was delayed is because they were trying to build such a foundation for this story that they left too little space for the final battle. Because there towards the end, you start feeling like it's starting to get rushed, and then it slows back down.
Yeah.
And it fixes itself. That's kind of like, to me, when they realize, oh crap, let's do this. We can't do it. Let's delay it. Let's get another issue in here. So I was okay with it because, like I said, I read them all just one shot. Just boom, sat down. And so
well, see,
I didn't get
that's my thing. You know, you talk about all these little things, you know, comics are notorious for doing big events like this, and those little things taking place in other books.
Yeah.
And you know, and that I guess being reading comics forever, that's what I'm used to is, okay, this is the main title, you just need, and Marvel's good about that, you know, you just need to read the main book and you can understand what's going on without having to read all these little offshoots. But it's just had all these little details, and don't get me wrong, it was really cool, but it's like, in the main title, we're doing this whole building of Battleworld, and in the end, it's not even going to exist. And to me, that's almost like a waste of time when reading, when at the end this whole battle world doesn't matter and they're recreating the multiverse. And I felt that's what killed the book, and probably killed it for a lot of people because people were waiting for this book. You know, they made such a big deal of it. I mean, Hickman's Avengers run, he'd been playing this for like 4 years, and then for it to be delayed so long, just killed it. And like you said, I think it was because they kept storytelling, and then they're like, oh man, we need to do something about this and get on with the book and stretch it out. But knowing Marvel, there's probably some plans with this being delayed. Apocalypse War is coming out. I got a feeling for some reason that's got something to do with this, just to the teeny tiniest bit. But like I said, I really liked it.
I wish, what you were saying, I wish they would have left Battleworld.
I wish they would have.
I wish Reed would have just took it over and kind of changed it a little rather than just a clean slate starting over. Because I like Battleworld. I like the concept.
Yeah, like you said, you know, the whole Thors, and that's cool. And then what's even cooler is then you go to Doom's Court, and it's Madrox and Mr. Sinister arguing about stuff and how they get to settle it, and that's cool and all. But I mean, they were building up a lot of things for something in the end that didn't matter, and I think that's what in the end really slowed the book down.
And then for me, towards like I guess the middle of the book, towards the end, there's some things to me that kind of, I wouldn't say got on my nerves, but didn't make much sense to me. Like whenever Thanos is going to try to fight Doom, and Doom basically just rips the skeleton out, but he's still got people turning and trying to go up against him. And I'm like, if I just seen him do that to Thanos, there's no way I'm going to turn against Doom at that point.
Well, that's the thing, though. It's all villains, though.
I know,
that's
it's just so
villainous
weird.
intent, you know. It's like we covered Future Imperfect and the Maestro showing up, which I've seen a couple people online. They're like, "Where the hell did he get the helicarrier from?" And I have not seen anything in any book that where he's got a helicarrier.
Well, where did he come from?
And he was staring at the armor, basically in La La Land.
I mean, you know, and then all of a sudden he was back. You know, there was, you know, for all the detail this built up, there was no detail in how did he get back from all
That
that.
has a bunch of questions.
A lot of that could be answered though, because I heard that Maestro does take a part of the new universe.
Oh yeah, I know he's the Contest of Champions. That's true.
It could come back and it could explain itself, like how he got out or whatever it may be.
How did he make a bunch of Hulks?
Yeah.
Well, the whole
at least all the Hulk was different, and he stored them somewhere.
I think it's Planet Hulk. They show you how all that happened. There's like a game of bomb that turned everybody. And, yeah.
Let's talk about favorite parts. My favorite part was when the Cabal's fighting the Thors. And then Future Foundation shows up.
Yeah.
Thanos has got a Thor in the headlock. And he's like pimp smacking another one, like not having any trouble at all.
Well, yeah, it shows you the power of Thanos.
How powerful he is, right? And then Molecule Man, or not Molecule Man, the Maker and Maximus, they're inside a bubble, and they Thors can't even bust in it. And Sue's trying to convince Doom to go down there and intervene. She's like, you know, blah blah, and she's talking about Thanos. She's like, there's more Thanoses in different parts of our unit of Battleworld. She's like, but this one's power rating is by far higher than theirs.
Yeah.
So she mentions how powerful he is, and then like Evan the Great said, Doom shows up. He's like, you got the Infinity Gauntlet? No. Bam, rips his spine out. That just shows you how powerful Doom really was. But back to my favorite part, I enjoyed that fight, and then Cyclops Dark Phoenix shows up and blasts Doom, and everybody's like, you know, they thought he could take him, and then Doctor Strange stops them. Was like, y'all need to see this. Y'all need to realize who you're messing with.
Yeah,
Doom just gets up and snaps his neck. And then instead, because he knows they won't bow knee to Doom.
Yeah.
So he basically sacrificed Cyclops. He could have stopped that, but he sacrificed Cyclops so they knew what they were dealing with. You can't fight this guy head on.
Yeah.
And so then he scattered them. After they knew what they were dealing with, he scattered them and sacrificed himself ultimately. And I thought that was the best part of the book. That to me set in motion of who they're dealing with, what the main problem is, and then you know you can't take it on head on. And
exactly.
To me, that was that was my favorite part of the entire book.
I guess mine is actually the war at the end. It was really, really creative, which Evan the Great brought up. And if you've read this, it's probably the best part in the book is Groot becoming the World Tree.
Yeah.
Awesome. Like, Quill's got this toothpick, Star-Lord. And you don't ever think nothing about it because he's a cocky guy. And then when he was fighting Black Swan, he's like, don't make me use this. And then if you know anything about Groot, all it takes is just a piece of Groot for Groot to grow back. Now it does take a while, but I'm guessing being the power of the World Tree, it was just like instantaneous, you know. And it's awesome because he just pokes it in the tree, and then the whole tree becomes Groot, and it's awesome because then everybody's just like, oh my god, and literally he becomes like the biggest, I guess, combatant on the battlefield at that time compared to the Thing and Galactus who were throwing down.
He destroys all of Castle Doom.
Exactly.
Just by standing up. They could have did something with that though, because they just mentioned that he's heading to go fight Galactus, and that was it. And I wanted to see that fight.
You know, and then you had the fight with the Thing and Galactus, which the book does take place part of Siege, where Thanos is talking to the Thing, and then you know, man, that even goes back to the helicarrier part, where like they're on the helicarrier and the Maestro, who fights a different version of the Thing. Surely at that time he has to look over, thinking, man, I remember you, and then all of a sudden he gets smashed, and he's like, "Oh no, you're not the same Thing."
Yeah.
You know, I'd like to see maybe where there had been some dialogue there from the Maestro, being like, "Whoa, that's not what you look like," you know. And then it's sad because that whole fight there is just emotional because the Thing, when he realizes because he's the only person at the time from Battleworld that's not Doom or Strange or either one of the Life Raft that realizes what's going on because of the Enlightenment gun.
Yeah.
And it's sad because he's like, man, I can't fight you, Franklin. And he lets Franklin kill him. And it's really sad because Franklin doesn't know what he's doing. He just sees it as an enemy.
Yeah, I don't think he could have stopped him anyway.
I don't
the
think he
first
could.
blast blew his entire shoulder off.
Yeah.
You know, I think it was a downhill battle. He could have stalled him, but I thought that was a little emotional too. That he just stood there and just took it and died.
Yeah, you know, and then the battle gets better with, they use a Siege Courageous, which they found with the Infinity Gauntlet. Black Panther, who is the King of the Dead, which actually makes sense now, because he's been proclaiming that in New Avengers forever, shows up, and then all the zombie horde comes with him, and then that's when, you know, Doom is scared. Finally, you see something that Doom fears, because he knows that, you know, once it's there, he can't stop that, you know, because it's going to take over everybody. They even, like, you know, it bites somebody, and they might kill that zombie, but then they become a zombie themselves, and that whole fight at the end is probably the highlight of the book. You know, even in that fight, you talk about where he rips Thanos' spine out. I mean, straight up Sub-Zero's him. Just
Yeah.
And in the end, just burns all of his flesh and stuff away at the same time. So that's probably the highlight of the book for me.
And then for me, I wouldn't say the fight between Black Panther and Doom, because that was kind of lackluster and it served a greater purpose. But it's the involvement in Reed and Black Panther and all their ideals to do this conversion at the end, and to see Black Panther step up and want to be the one to wear the gauntlet and control the undead, and to see him and Namor work together, just
Yeah, after hating each other since
it's so hard. I'm like, they sent these two basically to save, to get it on pause where the other ones can save the day. It would just blew my mind. I'm like, they probably started fighting each other, but they didn't.
No, well, I think that's great because they refer to that,
Yeah,
too.
that's
You
what I
know,
was saying.
he's like, we're both the kings of nothing. You know, why fight each other? But you wonder how much that's going to affect. What's going to happen afterwards. Spoiler alert: Namor dies in Squadron Supreme.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because they're going to kill him. Yeah, from New Avengers. But yeah, I mean, I wish I could have seen that play out a little bit more because it was interesting.
Well, this Namor dies here too.
Yes, yeah, he
Doom
dies.
just disintegrates him.
Well, in the end, doesn't matter if any of them die.
Yeah.
Because everything's going to be recreated.
And to me, if I had to give an overall what I thought the story told, I think this was almost a farewell to the Fantastic Four.
Oh yeah, it was.
Because it starts with Doom and it ends with Reed, and you get to see the Fantastic Four. They're no more. But I like the way that some of the best my favorite character in the entire thing was the Wall that was seen. I really liked the concept of that and what he represented and everything he knew. I really liked everything about him, and it was, I don't know, that was my favorite character, I guess you could say, that they put into this Battleworld storyline.
Talking about your favorite character being the Thing, mine would have to be another point you touched on. My favorite characters was the relationship between Black Panther and Namor. Even when they bring back the dead, or when he becomes the King of the Dead, MODOK's trying to oppose him. He's
That's
like, why would we follow you, and blah blah.
Peanut butter.
And the
brain.
persons that originally hated him just like throws the trident and stabs him in the face, you know, and he's like, anybody else? And and through them searching, looking for Strange's his hideout, and then they find the gauntlet, and he looks at Namor, and he's like, now what? Namor's like, you don't want me to have it.
You don't want me to trust.
Yeah, you can't trust me already.
Because he already knows what he'd do if he had.
Yeah, so, and I like their character bouncing off. They took two people that should hate each other, made them like each other. Not like each other, but made them work together.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually I felt like they bounced off each other well.
Yeah,
I wouldn't mind to see them paired up more often, like just them two, because I thought they bounced off each other so well, because they know each other. Because most people, especially people that are heroes, you know your enemy the best. You know your enemy better, and they showed that here. They knew each other without even being friends or anything. They knew each other, and I thought they bounced off that. They bounced off each other pretty well. But they were my favorite characters.
Obviously, my favorite character is Doom, and I like when they write Doom like this because Doom, being a villain, I guess for all intents and purposes, in comics, to me is really not a villain. They really showed him this because Doom wanted to save everybody, and Strange even talks about, when he opens the life raft he's got hidden, and all the heroes come out, and they're like, Doom, and he's like, you don't understand, Doom saved us. And You know, there's plenty of stories where he's done that, and even some of them like I can't think of the name of the book right now, but where he has Franklin like create an alternate world, and it's a world of peace. You know, and his whole thing is, you know, he just wants to run it. And there has also been other stories where I can't remember the name of the story, but I think it's the Panther guy, Black Panther Warships, even says, you know, they've looked into alternate worlds, alternate futures, you know, and most of the time it's Doom that makes the world better, you know. And then this is this is it. They go through where Doom, Strange, and Owen Reese, the Molecule Man, are fighting the White Knights, which you find out who they are in New Avengers, and you briefly see them here, which are the Beyonders. Which basically, you know, they talk about Reese being the bombs that are going to destroy the multiverse. He literally becomes God. And Strange says he's scared of it, but he knows Doom can do it, because this is all Doom's ever wanted, was to rule. And it's not so much rule with an iron fist, but it's just to rule. So he takes the power and does, honestly, what I think he thinks is right, because he sees the multiverse breaking, and he's trying to take what he can. And then it even breaks down to the end where Owen Reese puts him and Reed on an even playing field. And even then, you know, he's talked about what he done, how he saved everybody, and Reed keeps telling him it wasn't enough. And then basically even Doom, for once, admits that he's flawed, and admitting that Reed could do better.
But Doom's biggest problem there, though, is what he saved, he still made sure he put himself on top,
yeah.
and that he was happy. And then he was so proud of what he had, he refused to push his limits to try to fix stuff further. And
Yeah.
that's why Mr. Fantastic would have did a better job.
Yeah.
I didn't like their fight either, by the way. Just to point that out. I didn't care for their little battle
spat,
down
yeah.
there in front of Molecule Man. But since I'm talking about Molecule Man, I loved Molecule Man. Every time you show up, you bring me something to eat.
Yeah.
You know, and Miles had a hamburger that's
a 3-week old hamburger.
And he don't care. He's just
Yeah,
like,
it's like, oh, this is delicious. you
yeah,
know.
I thought he was a pretty comic relief almost, in a sense, into the story that I really enjoyed.
So, in a sense, let's get to, you know, breaking down the book itself. If you were nice enough to pick up Zero during Free Comic Book Day back in May, that's where you get the life raft being built by the Future Foundation. And then, which there's not a lot there. You know, the book basically picks up in one. We get the final incursion, and New Avengers has been all these incursions. The Illuminati have done everything they possibly can to prevent these or stop these, even to get to the point where they're breaking their own morals. Some of them are, I should say. You know, like Iron Man, Namor, that's where Namor goes kind of evil, I guess you would say. To me, he was just doing what he knew was right. He was trying, you know, he knew they could avoid it. We get to, yes. So you get to the final incursion, and then you get the crossover. Basically, everybody's wanted to see for the last 15 years. You get our beloved 616 versus the 1610, the Ultimate Universe. And in my opinion, the Ultimate Universe was getting its ass stomped when the fight happened, if you ask me. Because, you know, Iron Man's fighting Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel, whatever you want to call her, Carol Danvers. And, man, she's, like, beating the snot out of him. And the Ultimates just basically come with an army, a fleet, just basically shield what supers they've got, and then they basically fighting the heroes of Marvel. To me, they stood no chance whatsoever.
No, they actually mention it.
Yeah.
Their Nick Fury's like, this ain't going like we thought it would.
Exactly,
You know,
no.
and like they're getting stomped, and I thought that was good too.
Me too.
And wasn't that the part where you get to see what the Punisher's up to?
Oh, God, was that not great?
All the villains they're having their last get together, their last little party celebration.
The last hurrah, yeah. 'cause
Yeah,
the
their
ones
last hurrah. You know, Kingpin, Bullseye, all of them. They're all in there. They're having their little get together, and they can't stop anything. They're not powerful enough to be out there fighting. So they're just having to get together, and then boom, door gets kicked in. And it's Punisher. He's like, that's the thing about bullets. Here you can't take them to the afterlife.
Yeah, he says, they say when you die, you can't take what you own with you. He's like, so what am I going to do with all these bullets?
Yeah.
And just waste everybody in the bar. I wish that was a little bit longer there.
Yeah.
Because, Michael Rudd, if you're reading that, if you have not read this book, you will be very satisfied with that short scene right there.
Yeah, and that's all they show of him.
Exactly.
And I thought that's all they needed to show.
Yep.
You knew what the Punisher was up to, that's all you cared for, and that was it. And it was perfect.
Yeah. And to me, I think that is probably the best part of issue 1, is just watching him walk in, because you're reading this book and it's built up to be so epic, this final incursion, and you don't expect that. Yeah. And it's great. And then all of a sudden, there's, they're at this bar and you're like, what's up with this? And then the Punisher kicks up the door and you're like, oh, this makes perfect sense now. And then, you get final incursion. It's really sad because Reed tries to save Sue as their life raft breaks. And he is just broken down about this. And then after that, you continue on to Battleworld, and basically that first book, number 2, is basically you get a breakdown of Battleworld, how it works. And that's where you learn the crowning of Thor's, Doom's court, which is actually, I think, really interesting. Because this is like 8 years later. And, each section of Battleworld's got a baron. And it seems most of your barons are ruled by very powerful villains.
Yeah.
And your villains take the forefront of this story for the most part. And that's what I like about it, because I'm a big fan of villains. Hence our, name of the villain's demand, if you haven't noticed. And that is something, even though I complained that I didn't like in the main story, I would really like to see more about, like, Doom's court and such in a side story.
Yeah, like, there's 4 of them?
What do you mean?
Of the main ones that are in there with Doom. Apocalypse, Maestro, Sinister,
and Madame Pryor.
Yeah.
Well, that's at the end, but
yeah. At the end. Them are the 4 that are the main ones, and so I would like to see offshoots of them, like what's going on.
Well, you do. There's other books with them, which we read the thing with Maestro.
Yeah, that's the only one I remember.
You get there's an Age of Apocalypse books. Inferno, which you should read, is really good. That's where you get Madame Pryor. Sinister's in a bunch of different other books, so... but I think that was a really cool thing about, and then this is, a lot of the book covers a lot of this little bitty stuff like this, which Doom, there's the magic and then there's the science, which Steven runs magic, and then, the Future Foundation runs the science. There's a lot of little bitty stuff like this, which I thought was really neat, but did not need to be so much involved in the main title there in the beginning. Like, to me, you could have took issue 2 out and made this 8 issues, because there's except for the end where they find the life raft of the Cabal. Most of it's just filler, and it could have been in a separate issue and it'd been fine.
I like Doom's Future Foundation with his ran by his daughter.
Yeah.
She didn't trust Doom. She knew he was up to something. And she was digging in deeper and doing stuff that he didn't know they were even doing. She was trying to see, she was so smart, and you just knew it. She knew there was something more behind Steven's death. And so they actually pinpointed that in all of Battleworld is held together by the same energy that
Doom
powers
stuff.
Doom. Yeah.
Doom stuff.
And but then they mentioned how Doctor Strange's energy doesn't match it. They call his dark matter. That's because he didn't get pulled into that world.
Yeah, and
he's one of the original.
When you talk about that, let's talk about Thanos' power level. Yeah. Everybody that come off the life rafts are the same way.
Yeah. And so they're putting all that together, and I thought that was really good. And then at the very end, she's like trying to explain it to Sue again. She's like, now explain it so I can understand it. And she's like, I'll try. And she actually explains what they're doing at the end with Franklin's creating universes, giving them a read, he's launching them out there. And she breaks all that down. Really, she breaks it down so the reader can understand what's going on.
Yeah.
But it's to her mom, and I thought his daughter, I really enjoyed her in the book because she helped you understand that not everybody, even someone as close as his daughter, believes everything Doom says, even though he's supposedly God. And I enjoyed that.
Well, you see a lot of that in the book, reading on, because it's like where the Prophet, which is Maximus the Mad, he's gathering people around Battleworld that don't believe, that Doom is the God. And that even goes down to where some of the Thors believe that, and then the Thor that takes place in the beginning of the Thor, which I assume is Thor, our original 616 Thor from the God Butcher story, where you see him young. I assume that this was that Thor. And, and then he's even going around saying that, Doom is the false god, They don't ever mention anything about Odin, because I'm sure they don't know who Odin is. But, you come to realize there's a lot of this going on in Battleworld. And it's not just so much that they don't believe that he's God, it's just that there's a lot of people that don't like Doom, which is really not surprising.
Odin was brought up in Maestro's offshoot.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if Maestro knew about him, and I can see them maybe knowing, but knowing that he's replaced with the true God, I guess, in a sense, which would be Doom.
Yep. I like all the I call them the Thor Corps. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But that's basically what they are. But I like the fact that they did have some of them, and they went with the belief that he was not the god. And then towards the end, in the last battle scene, you actually have some of them turn on Doom, and I thought that was really cool. That fight scene where they had them turn, and then some of the other people turn too. Sinister, he turns, and then who rips his head off?
Nemesis does.
Yeah, Nemesis rips his head off, and that just blew my mind. I'm like, wow, I didn't see that coming.
Well, that doesn't surprise me because it's villains, whatnot. But you know, you bring up the Thors and stuff. It was really cool because no Thor. Well, okay, I shouldn't say that. They don't have individual names. You only find that out once in the MODOK Assassins. That, you know, she says she's Angela, but no one's ever really called by a name but Thor.
Yeah.
You know, and it's really neat because you get all these different people being Thors. At one time you see Storm, who is Thor, which I thought was really cool.
That too.
And I'd like to see more played off on that. And then, like MODOK Assassin, you get Angela. Then you see Beta Ray Bill, but he's never called Beta Ray Bill. They're just all called Thors. And then I assume the older Thor, to me, kind of reminded me of a younger Odin in a sense, you know. Just the way he was.
The, like, captain of the Thor?
Yeah, the guy with the red beard.
That was, wasn't that, the, future Thor from, the God Butcher, where he has the Destroyer arm and the Odin Force, and he's the last god left?
I guess that would make sense, but see, he didn't have red hair in that one or a beard. He looked more like Odin, though.
Yeah. But, I mean, he had the Destroyer
arm. I guess that would make more sense,
that it was him.
I didn't really think about that, but yeah. I would assume that would be it. But overall, the book's really good. I give it 7 out of 10.
I'll give it an 8, maybe an 8.5, because it didn't bother me. Because, like I said, I read it all in one punch. So if you read it all in one punch and you didn't know that it was pushed back or anything like that, I wanted it to be longer because I just read all the issues just boom, 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 boom over, you know, I think 2 days. So to me, I didn't get that rush feeling. Besides knowing that it, you know, I was almost looking for it being rushed because I knew it got pushed back and all this. But just reading it all in one shot, I felt like they could have did a lot more explaining in the book itself because, like you said, a lot of times they do that on side stories, but they were explaining it in this story, and so since they're already doing it, I wish they would have did it better. That's the only complaint I really have because there's a lot of stuff that I enjoyed about it that they didn't touch on, that they didn't follow up on, which at the end of the book they also leave it wide open for so many questions and so much possibility, which is another huge plus to the book. I do recommend it.
Which I'm sure will break out in all this other Marvel stuff, which we will be covering.
Yeah.
And I guess if I had to put it one, it would be a 7, followed with a question mark, because Marvel is notorious for writing a story like this and leaving a bunch of holes in it and then filling them in later, and it just makes it perfect.
But see, you know, that's why I get. How can you fill in the holes?
I know, because it ain't there.
There's no more Battleworld. I mean, we couldn't.
But they're Marvel.
Because Reed and Franklin were creating other universes, so hopefully there is one out there. Like I said, and we've said in the rest of these, since we've been covering Secret Wars, you know, a lot of these stories would be great if they continued them on.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of them would.
You know, and hopefully by creating these multiverses and slinging them out there into nothingness, we get that eventually with Battleworld.
Civil War is...
Yeah, Civil War.
That one had so much untapped potential.
Yes,
we talked about it. I think that was half the review, is how much untapped potential that book had. If they do that, I'm reading it.
I completely agree. I mean, even for them to backtrack in that 6-year period before that, between the original Civil War and that book, I mean, there's a bunch you can fill in right there with that. And you know, comics do backtrack sometimes to fill in crap like that. And yeah, Civil War would be a perfect book. But we're the Villains of Man, Justin Von Doom, Hero Man, Zevin the Great. Watch us on YouTube, follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and all hail Doom.